Yeah, so it's the NBA playoffs. There are a lot of good teams in the playoffs, and you can't go 16-0. There are going to be some good games, going to be bad games. Jordan Poole scores 11 points doesn't mean that he's washed now after scoring 30 for every other game. It's just, and it's not Steve Kerr's fault. It's never Steve Kerr's fault, okay? Steve Kerr got us here, so Steve Kerr slander, I just can't tolerate.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we here at Dub Nation HQ have a super special vidcast for you today. My name is Daniel Hardy, the Gold-Blooded King. And for this playoff edition vidcast, we had to bring on the guest. You may have known him from his Twitter fame. Some say notorious fame, the way he's out there on the interwebs giving us the good news. His name is Dr. Nirav Pandya. He's a pediatric orthopedic surgeon who specializes in sports medicine for young athletes. And just so you know who this guy is, I pulled his resume. I'm going to give you a couple of fun facts for him, okay? Dr. Pandya has earned his medical degree at the University of Chicago and completed a residency in orthopedic surgery at the University of Pennsylvania. He's a fellow of the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons and a founding member of the Pediatric Research and Sports Medicine Society. And right now he's in the Bay, and right now he's talking to us. So let's give a big round of applause to my man. How you doing, doctor? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. If you could tell my mom just all those great things, she'd actually think I amounted to something. So I appreciate the intro.
No problem. So as we record this right now, it is Monday evening. The Brooklyn Nets have just been swept out of the playoffs, and the Warriors are up 3-1. But before we get to all that basketball stuff, I want to get a little bit of a deeper dive into you. What's your background with sports and medicine, and what drives your love for the craft of orthopedics?
Yeah, no, great question. Thank you. So I'm originally from Chicago. So sports is a big part of me growing up. I was a huge Bulls fan, kind of grew up when the Jordan dynasty was happening. And obviously football was huge in Chicago.
6 rings, yeah.
Exactly. Six. No one else has it. Yeah. So it was, sports were a big part of my life. And I was very interested in medicine as well, too. So kind of naturally, kind of sports and then this kind of career of being able to take care of athletes kind of came together. And I was an athlete growing up as well, too. Played basketball all throughout high school and actually ran track as well, too, and ran track in college. So for me, sports were a big part of kind of my upbringing and what I was doing every day. And a lot of track and field kind of lends me into what I do now is a lot of mechanical stuff. It's looking at mechanics. It's looking at how people are moving. And I actually coached for a little bit in college as well, too. So, a lot of people look at me and you say, oh, you're breaking down all these videos on the internet when you're just making this stuff up. I'm like, no, this is what I actually did for a long time, like with my own athletic career and when I was coaching people. So I was looking at how people are jumping and moving. So kind of all those things kind of took me to med school, wanted to take care of kids. When you do sports medicine, you can do adults, you can do kids. And I just like taking care of kids. You see them kind of grow up and make it to the next level, and landed in the Bay after finishing residency. And I've been here, this is year 11. So I feel like when Curry kind of came and Klay and the dynasty started, I kind of come in the Bay Area as well too. So it's been a nice team to follow since I've been here for the past decade.
And for those who are wondering, he's really out here in the Bay. I met this guy out in the town, downtown Oakland, grabbing some food. So he's really out here in the streets. Now, I'm glad you brought up your actual athletic history. We got a lot of people out here, jaw jacking and typing on the internet there who've never picked up a basketball in their entire life. So I'm glad you have someone who actually has played the game and knows what he's talking about. So I hear that you were like one of the top 10 triple jumpers in your school history. So, I mean, how good of a long jumper were you?
So I was a 21-foot long jumper and an almost 45-foot triple jumper. So, it was, the University of Chicago is not known for its athletics, but, I was, I think I'm still like number 9 or something like that. So yeah, it was one of those random things, I went to track practice and like, why don't you try jumping? I'm like, sure. And, working out good. And I tried to explain to my immigrant Indian parents what triple jumping was. And they were like, what are you doing? And, kept doing it through college. And no, it's been fun. It was a lot of fun. And my younger son, I have an 11-year-old, he's kind of gravitating towards track as well too. So it's nice to kind of see the tradition go on.
Fantastic. And, for those who are wondering, you look at my Instagram, I was dunking back in the day, before I added the beer belly there. Okay, let's zoom into what's happening with your Warriors fandom. So when you said that you came to the Bay, the Splash Bros were kind of taking off. What would you say is your favorite year of Warriors fandom so far?
The first year they won the championship. I mean, that was an amazing year. I mean, I think you kind of saw that the year before they made the playoffs, and then I think just the whole city. I mean, I think people, like for me, I have personal feelings of them going to San Francisco, but you just really saw all of Oakland like come together. It was literally like every day in the hospital, every day afterwards, people were just, what's going on with the Warriors? You could just feel the passion. And I think the thing that really kind of strikes me is that like after that season was over, I was like, it's empty. Like what's there to do now? Like there's just 3-month break. And I think just, it was amazing to see the whole city, everyone come together, get behind these guys and really see them kind of come, from the ground up. So that first championship was great just to see them all come together. And it was just exciting at that point. And yeah, the KD years were great as well too. But I think that first year was just amazing to see it all come together and be in the city, see it happen right in front of me.
I mean, I totally dig with you there. I cried. They actually won the championship on my birthday, I believe. So wow. It was like huge, huge birthday present for me. I'm from Oakland, so it was like a dream come true. I remember when people in school in Georgia, had no idea where Golden State was. They were like, where is Golden State? So it was very validating. And so thinking about that first year of the championship, kind of takes me to that last year against the Raptors when their bodies were falling apart. And it looks like they just couldn't stay healthy enough. I mean, KD, as you mentioned, was the calf injury, then it was the Achilles injury, and then, Klay, everything just breaking down there. And now to see how both Klay and KD have bounced back from these horrific injuries, which, I remember back in the day, it was like, if you got your Achilles messed up, like forget about it. You know what I mean? Right. Can you give us some insight into the type of wear and tear that basketball puts on the Achilles and how the advances in modern medicine have made so that these guys are coming back looking like all-stars?
Yeah, no, it's pretty phenomenal. And I think there's, in terms of like, you're absolutely right. Like 20, 25 years ago, someone got an Achilles, someone got an ACL. I mean, maybe there was like 1 or 2 players that were an exception, but it was done. They disappeared, like even for like regular athletes, it was like a life-changing event. And you think about the way these basketball players play. I mean, you're running 2-3 miles all out, intense, like jumping, running, training for it. And the physical demands are tremendous. So if you look at these players when they're 30, 35, their tendons, their cartilage, it's beaten up, it's worn out, and a lot of these kids, as opposed to 20, 25 years ago, they're also like playing basketball at age 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So yeah, back in the Jordan era, maybe guys weren't getting injured as much, but they, in their off season, they weren't doing anything. And then they weren't playing AAU when they're 8, 9, or 10. So guys coming into the league right now, so much more mileage on them. And then the game's so much more intense. So definitely they have tons of wear and tear on them. And then to basically then get back to play, it's amazing. I mean, you're taking a car that's essentially a used car and then you're trying to get it back to play against, a brand new car. And it's really, really difficult. And I think where most of the advances have come on is how we rehab these athletes. The surgeries are still the same. You still sew an Achilles together. You still put a new ACL inside it. But it's how aggressive we've been with rehab, all the different things you can do. And that's what's really allowed these athletes to get back. And, someone like Klay, one ACL career over 20 years ago, and Achilles after it, no way. And now suddenly, like 3-4 months after he hasn't played, it's going crazy. I mean, we just take it for granted now. And I think it's for me, seeing it from the surgical side, I'm like, you can't take this for granted. Like you just can't expect people to come back right away. And it's pretty remarkable how we just like, when's Klay going to come back? Should he be on the bench? And I'm like, Klay's playing. It's great. Like this let's be amazed by that. But a lot of it's the rehab. And you hear about it all the time, like Rick Celebrini, all these guys on the Warriors staff. You see these, these doctors getting mentioned a lot because they're really, keeping these athletes healthy and getting them back.
Well, just for the record, anybody who thought Klay should have came off the bench, please slap yourself right now. Exactly. Speaking of hands, I spoke with Steph Curry's trainer last season, Brandon Payne, and he told me that the scariest injury that they had to deal with was the broken hand injury, just because of the unpredictability of it and just that they had never had anything like that before. So to see Steph and Klay come back from these really crazy injuries to be as dominant as they are is pretty awesome. Now, obviously, there's some other teams right now dealing with some major injury issues. The Phoenix Suns, who many people had crowned as of like February and March, Devin Booker with that hamstring there. From what I understand, they're talking about 3 to 4 weeks absence for the book. Can you give us some insight into why it's so hard to get over that hamstring injury?
Yeah, especially I think it's definitely position dependent. So, I think for a center, or power forward, it might be a little bit easier. But for a guard, I mean, anytime you're doing any kind of explosive activity, any kind of agility, shorty, kind of running, stopping, it's like puts a tremendous amount of strain on the hamstring. It also depends where it is. So like, if it's a little bit kind of like more in the muscle, not as much worried about it. But if it's a little bit higher up or lower down, it can be problematic, especially for someone who's had multiple hamstring injuries like Booker. And we actually did a study looking at NBA players with hamstring injuries, and some of them missed 6 to 8 games, and some people missed a lot more. But the biggest thing that we found actually was that the rate of injuring yourself again was really high. And it wasn't just necessarily a hamstring injury, but it could be a knee injury, it could be an ankle injury as well too. So part of it is, maybe the hamstring's better in a week, but if you're a little bit weaker, are you putting your knee at risk? Are you putting your ankle at risk? So there are a lot of these different structures that get impacted. So I think for someone like himself, who's had a couple different injuries and is an explosive player, it's just hard to come back. If you're a center, you're just kind of going down to the paint, not doing as much explosive activity, you can back in a week. But for someone like Booker, you need those 3 to 4 weeks to make sure you can be effective and not get injured again.
And now we get to the dilemma that we're seeing. The Phoenix Suns are in a dogfight right now with the 9th seed New Orleans Pelicans. I think they were got in there.
Yeah.
How are you liking the Warriors' current playoff path?
Yeah, I think it looks actually great. I mean, I think I was worried about the Suns. I think they're, even with Booker kind of being there, I think we could handle them. The Grizzlies worry me. I mean, they worry everybody, because they've even before John Morant, when it was like the different version of the Grizzlies, they always gave the Warriors trouble. So I think that probably the hardest task for them will be getting through the Grizzlies if they make it through. I think after that, if they're playing the Suns, which most likely I think they'll get past the Pelicans and kind of keep going. I'm not worried about them. My prediction is a Warriors-Celtics final, which I think would be a very good matchup. I think that's a toss-up, just the way Boston's been playing.
Wait, whoa, Doc, hold on a second. Are you just writing off the Minnesota Timberwolves like that? Just writing off Big Cat?
I am. I mean, I love Cat, but I don't think the Timberwolves are going to. And I think with Embiid's hand injury, I don't know if the 76ers are going to be able to kind of make it out of the East as well, too. So a lot going on in the Eastern Conference, too.
Absolutely. I would love to see a Celtics versus Bucks matchup. Although with Chris Middleton hurt, it's just a definite trouble for them. But I've got friends texting me that, Giannis is the ultimate superstar now. So I want to see him get tested. We'll have to see about that. Okay. So then in terms of that Eastern side bracket, were you surprised at the ascension of these Boston Celtics?
Yeah, a little bit. I think part of it was like, I think they kind of had they've had kind of players throughout kind of who played very well. I'm really surprised at how good Jason Tatum has been doing. I think he's really come around. And I think Robert Williams coming back from his meniscus injury, coming back to play after that, really surprising. So I think it's been pretty remarkable how they've come together. They've had a coaching change. So I think it's they've got everything, all the pieces are coming together. They got the defense, they've got the offense. So I'm not super surprised, but I definitely think that Tatum, you need a superstar to make it work. And Tatum's that superstar. It's not like football where you have a team. You need 1 or 2 people who can take over the game at any point. I think Tatum's that person.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I want to move to some word association here. And I'm going to just fire some words at you. Just give me the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay.
Okay.
Steph.
Got it. Foot.
Klay.
Rocco.
Pool.
Pool party. Or pool party.
Draymond.
Angry.
I like that. Wiggins.
Ooh, two-way.
Two-way, okay. With a hyphen in there.
Yeah.
Looney.
Ooh, every day.
Kaminga.
Ooh, potential.
Steve Kerr.
2.0.
Okay. And now I want to ask you, what's your favorite Warriors jersey? What's the best jersey they got right now?
So my City Edition. I got my City Edition Gary Payton jersey. Gary Payton, the second jersey. That's my go-to right now. My City Edition Gary Payton, the second jersey.
Awesome. Okay. And what would your advice be to the great fan base that is Dub Nation as they watch these games? And you know how Dub Nation is, watching every single second, overreacting to everything. What wisdom would you have to give to the fans?
Yeah, so it's the NBA playoffs. There are a lot of good teams in the playoffs, and you can't go 16-0. There are going to be some good games, going to be bad games. Jordan Poole scores 11 points doesn't mean that he's washed now after scoring 30 for every other game. It's just, and it's not Steve Kerr's fault. It's never Steve Kerr's fault, okay? Steve Kerr got us here, so the Steve Kerr slander I just can't tolerate. And the other thing is the Looney slander. There's a little bit of Looney slander every now and then, and I'm like, this man shows up to work every day, doesn't complain, does his job. So that's my advice. It's going to be a fun ride. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the fact that we're here. Enjoy the Clay's out here. It's just, that third quarter from that game a couple days ago, that's basketball right there. I mean, that was amazing. Just remember that feeling, and it's going to be all good. It'll be fun.
And thank you so much for the support for our coach. I mean, he's named one of the greatest coaches of all time. All he does is give us a chance to win, and he still gets slandered. I mean, do you want to coach like Steve Nash? Is that you want to just go out there and do what you want? I don't know. Hey, thank you, Doug. I really appreciate you. Let's get back to watch this playoff basketball. And one thug tear out for Kevin Durant. We'll miss him. We'll miss him. Hey, but thank you, Doctor. We appreciate you.
Absolutely, anytime. I appreciate it. Yep.